Hello.
Hey,
Good morning.
How's
how are y'all
everything going?
doing? I know it's been kind of a crazy week, maybe less crazy than last week. I don't know.
Yes, crazier than last week, and we've got Amanda joining us too. Um, we are going to chat about a fun radio show that we had on Halloween, which seems like it was last week, but it really was Tuesday, and we're kicking off November now, so that's super fun. We put on a whole session as a team, or whole day of radio as a team at Reclaim throughout the day, and we just wanted to talk through how it works as a distributed team virtually, because we don't have the physical space anymore to put on a radio show. So we just wanted to kind of talk through the behind the scenes and all that good stuff. So how did you all feel it went?
I thought it was awesome. I mean, I did an hour of it, but it was a joy mostly just to listen throughout the day. It was great to kind of have a place to tune into all day. My daughter happened to be home with me that day, and we had it on literally throughout the entire house. So that was kind of for a lot of the day. So that was kind of cool too.
I love that.
Even during my break time. So it was nice.
That's fun.
Yeah, that's really, really nice. That's what I realized sort of slightly after I started playing music was that I should have asked for clarification on how many swears we were allowed to play.
You get 5.
5.
That's the
Okay.
clarification.
All right. I think I might have used all
After
of
that,
those
the station
before,
gets
so-
shut down. They'll be coming for us.
All right.
Yeah, I really liked it. I've been at Reclaim since June of 22, and we've done radio things mostly like internally. Haven't really like done anything that has been public facing, and I've always been able to get away with not doing it. And not that I didn't want to, but there was some setup involved that I felt inequipped to handle. And so what was nice about Tuesday was that it was like, yeah, well, we're all doing it. And so I was like, all right, I guess I gotta learn how to do it. And I did. And I had a lot of fun. I did 3 hours total. I did my own radio suspense hour, where I played like 2 radio broadcasts from the old time radio archive on YouTube, which was really fun. And then I did a spot with Pilot, and then I did a spot with Jason. And I really enjoyed all of them. And there was one more thing I wanted to say about it. Oh, just that I had a lot of fun, but it was very nerve-wracking. I was so nervous. I wasn't expecting to be as nervous as I was, but it all went really well.
Yeah, that's pretty much the long and short of it for me too. You were awesome, by the way. It's the idea of doing that for 3 hours was very intimidating to me, and you did a very good job.
Thank you.
But yeah, the thing that you said about setup, we actually, so we'll maybe get into this later if we run out of other stuff to talk about, but that's not true. We already talked about. We use Azuracast and Audio Hijack to make our radio station run. And we actually did training summer of 2022 on Azuracast and Audio Hijack, which I remember specifically because Audio Hijack was a staff pick in the July 2022 roundup, because that's how I mark time these days, and it's great. But we did that training all the way back then, and I didn't have Audio Hijack. So I learned how Azuracast worked and then never figured out how to get the music to go inside.
You got to put the music inside the radio station, Pilot. You just got to put it in there, right?
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So
Is
it's
there
cassette
a
tapes now.
tube or a
Yeah.
cable, something that I can use to just like pipe it?
Mhm.
I had to relearn Audio Hijack from that session. Again, when we were doing the training to prep for this radio show, I had my the session list set up and like all the blocks for Spotify in particular set up, and it's one of those like set and forget sort of scenarios in Audio Hijack, which is nice because then it's like everything works. You just like follow the errors if they fail, and so I'd forgotten how to like create the new ones, the new blocks, like for someone working with like Chrome for like a YouTube stream or anything like that. So it was really like on the fly. I was caught off guard half of it, like trying to train again, but I'm glad it worked out for everybody, and it's a good refresher because I definitely want to keep like streaming, doing the lo-fi streams occasionally, or like pick a genre of music like everybody do, like a you pick sort of thing. That'd be cool.
I'm very excited at the idea of getting to just inflict my music tastes on people, but I also realized about 25 minutes in that I listen to the same 4 playlists that are kind of a mix of there's like a Venn diagram of like 80 songs that I listen to, and the 4 playlists have so much overlap because I keep recycling things. So at a certain point, it is just going to be you guys going, oh, Pilot's listening to Pilot's just listening to this again. This is the same stuff that I played on Halloween is also on a playlist I have of just songs that I will loop to do music to in the background, is also on a character playlist that I made for a tabletop game, is also on a different playlist it's all the same playlist in different orders.
That's awesome. Jim, how was your experience at the radio?
It was good. I had a lot of fun. I think you saw it firsthand, Meredith. One of the things I did, and I love to play with the radio setups. I've been doing it for a little while. And so one of the things I was doing is, let me show you this. So I'm going to share my screen here, and I'm going to show you one of the tools I use to get...
Jim, you're coming in a little quiet for me. Is there a setting on your end that you can adjust
now?
gain? Well, that is better, but can you just like turn up the gain or something?
Are you questioning my levels?
Yes. I think that is what I'm doing.
Why?
Or turn
Okay,
it
I
into
guess-
ASMR.
I was going to say, are we doing spooky Halloween or are we just going to ASMR? That's fine.
No, I'm just being creepy. I'm sorry. I will stay closer to the mic because I don't know how to adjust my levels right now. But I will say this. So I'm going to share this. So this is my Loopback. This is an application you can buy. A lot of us were using Audio Hijack. And so this has various inputs. Like this is my camera. No, this is actually something weird. This is my Laserdisc VHS switcher. This is Google Chrome. This is music, Apple Music. This is QuickTime Player when I'm doing movie stuff. This is my Shure mic. This is Slack if I ever need to. This is USB audio codec, which is actually another word for my turntable, which I was using extensively, Meredith, as you know. And then this is VLC, and then this is something that gets it all together through pass-through.
Jesus Christ.
All of this gets mixed into these 2 channels. And if I turn 2 things on simultaneously, you can hear me and then you can hear whatever audio that is. And it could be my music. And the key to doing that is that and I really like this. It was kind of groundbreaking for me. In StreamYard, I could essentially pick that loop back audio, because it's basically a virtual input. I could basically grab that, and my microphone was not just my microphone, but it was any one of those audio inputs. So I could talk with Marin, and then also we both could listen to whatever I was playing, whether it's on my turntable, whether it was later on Apple Music. And so that's the way, Meredith, when we were all talking, we could in StreamYard hear what was going out to the radio, because there's loopback, but then I'm doing the same thing, but in a different way in Audio Hijack. But loopback allows me to take everything in that I want other people I'm with in a particular room to hear, and then we're on the same page when you go out on the radio, because there's nothing worse than being in StreamYard and someone saying, I'm playing this song to the radio now, and you're part of the conversation but can't hear what's going out to the radio. So it really was a nice setup for me to have loopback providing kind of the monitor for people in StreamYard, and then also running my Audio Hijack as I normally do with the various inputs. Does that make sense?
So the idea of you're using loopback to pipe your mic and what you're listening to into StreamYard, and then you're using Audio Hijack. Because Amanda, we ran into this because you have to put your mic into Audio Hijack separately, what you're getting back from StreamYard. So the stuff that you're piping into StreamYard can be the radio and your mic, and you're getting Marin back. And then you're piping Marin and your microphone and something else into Audio Hijack separately, and that's getting sent to Azuracast.
You are correct. In fact, right now I'm using the loopback virtual because it's the last thing I need. And so listen right now. You might hear something.
I'm gonna go make a flowchart.
Do you hear this?
Yes. Yeah.
Under the pressure. No, this is Ocean Between the Waves. And so that's what's happening. So Marin could hear my turntable. We could rock out to The Cure. And, you know, I could also do that in Audio Hijack, which is what's running right to Azuracast. And
Jim,
that was wonderful.
These recordings go on YouTube. We're gonna get DMCA'd.
No, I just only played less than 30 seconds.
Plus,
Oh,
we've
okay.
got our own. We don't even need YouTube, man.
That's right.
TV.
Pulling lately.
No,
Yeah.
I just also wanted to mention, of course, as soon as I say I wanted to mention something, I'm going to forget it. But something Jim was talking about had reminded me of something. But I'll let it go. I'll circle back.
I can
the
repeat
loopback stuff
everything
is
I just said, if you like.
the loopback stuff is really powerful and like and Audio Hijack itself even, right? Like there are other tools like I use on Windows. I use a tool to stream to my own radio station for when I play with virtual D&D group every week. We play background music on an Azuracast station, and I'm using my personal computer there, which is on Windows. And there is alternatives. There's one called Rocket Broadcaster that's pretty good, but none of them let you really configure this whole workflow in the way that audio and visualize it in the way that Audio Hijack does. Like I'm really impressed by. Now it's not nothing, like you have to learn it. It can be complicated, but you can look at it. Like if I share my screen here really
Meredith
quick.
makes learning Audio Hijack easy.
Yes, and yeah, and then once you get the basics and you use that a few times, you can do some somewhat complicated things with it really easily. So like this is my basic radio setup that I use on my Mac. So this is my microphone. This is Apple Music, and then I want to hear it locally, obviously. So that's what the output device thing is for. This view meters thing, all this does is when you run this in Audio Hijack, it'll put in my menu bar a little little volume meter, so that's like a nice visual indicator of like, hey dummy, you're live. Like don't don't leave your
so
mic on. Like
that's floating up in the up where it says like application file edit view history. And
Yeah.
then okay, so that'll be up next to like the
on the
clock or
top
something.
right. Yeah.
Okay.
And then over here is the 3 stations that I can use. So I can go to Reclaim Radio, I can go to my own radio station, and I have DS106 radio set up in there too. And I can even turn them on all at once and simulcast all 3, which is just the fact that that is possible in this interface where you just kind of like visually lay things out is super cool. To do something like this with other tools is possible, but really complicated.
It's like Yahoo Pipes, if you remember that tool.
I'm normally with you on old web tools, but I don't know about Yahoo Pipes, man.
Pipes was basically like you're doing the plumbing, and that's exactly what's happening here. You're doing the kind of, maybe this is more like electrical wiring, right?
Sure.
But you're pushing it together, and the way I have it is I always broadcast to DS106 radio and to Reclaim Radio. So let me show you this quickly, just to give you a sense of a different look at the same setup, because you can basically set it up however you want. And so look at this one. So this is this, right? So this has my microphone, Apple Music. This is my turntable when I use it, and this is Google Chrome. All of which are going through to either my DS106, which I call Bava Radio, or to Reclaim Radio. And I can turn them on or off. So it won't broadcast it if I don't want to, right? And then I have it recording, as you mentioned, Pilot, that it's recording. Like that right there is a little recording, widget. And then that's where I'm basically monitoring everything through my headphones. So it is all of these different inputs going to 2 radio stations to simulcast, and then recording, and then here's all my recordings over here, right? All the various things I've done. It's an awesome software.
I have a question.
I love it. Yes.
So I thought everything went really smoothly. I felt like a professional, right? I felt like a radio DJ, which was thrilling. The one thing that I was upset about and I couldn't figure out how to fix, and I don't know if you guys have a way to do this or if you just have better hardware around you. But what was killing me was the click of my mouse every time I tried to click between things. I know that Taylor has special buttons that he can use for muting himself or something like that, where it probably doesn't make as much sound. But I just was wondering, is there anything that you guys do to kind of avoid the click?
That's a really good.
Oh, plus you're
question.
using an internal microphone too. So
right.
That's yeah. So having an external microphone does help. That's the first one, because unfortunately when you're clicking on are you using an external mouse or a trackpad on your computer?
It's an external mouse.
Oh, okay. Well,
and it's picking it up. Yeah. I tried to use a trackpad and that was just as bad.
That would be even worse probably, because you'll hear a because you're actually touching the thing that the microphone is on. But yeah, the internal microphone on your laptop is those microphones have to pick up from a far range because they're not physically that close to you, right? Like this microphone is literally 2 inches from my mouth. So that's why you can't hear clicks, and unless I'm typing really fast, you can't hear my typing. But so that's one, is I think we need to send out Reclaim Radio streaming kits to everyone. And I'm going to spend Jim's money on the stream publicly. So, but
hey, I think it's worth it. I mean, what was cool too about
as long as you're not actively reading credit card numbers, it doesn't matter.
What was cool was that yesterday, was it yesterday or the day before? I don't know, sometime after Halloween Radio, Jason just started going on and streaming, and I was like, this is awesome. We should totally do this. And I do think it would be a cool investment in our radio.
We do a lot of live stuff now, and it's the balance is finding gear that's easy to use and not a pain to maintain. We could do a setup like Jim or I have, but you all would probably hate it. Like, that's the balance. Is it's like you got to find something that you can like put away when you don't want it, unless you're going to be an insane person like me and use your microphone for everything. So that there's a balance there. The other thing is I wonder if there's a way in Audio Hijack to set up keyboard shortcuts to mute and unmute sources. It's not something I've looked into, but like I bet, right? Like I bet there's a way to do that. And at which point now you don't have to click to make, yourself muted and unmuted.
I tried
They're also
that, and
yeah.
it wasn't. It
not good.
was more difficult than it needed to be. And in fact, the Shure M7. If I can push this, I'll promote this. I'll keep it close.
There you go. That's that
Okay.
radio sound.
Hi, how are you? Very good. But this.
I was
maybe
gonna push the Rode mic too.
But but look at this. This is the Shure M7, and right here,
Hmm.
and there's no click.
Yeah.
Click.
Oh.
No click.
And I have a button hidden
No
under
click.
my desk that I press. So ideally you can't even press it
Okay.
on and off. It's just you can't tell. So
That's
but
I was
there's
just gonna say-
also the last thing is Audio Hijack does have filtering tools. So I haven't played with them too much, but you can do a possibly an expander. I'm not really an audio expert because audio stuff is, in my opinion, way harder than video. But there are possibly some things we could do in Audio Hijack to kind of isolate voices a little bit better. So
That's my only critique. I felt like that brought me out of it.
I just think that everyone should learn to love the clunk. That's
Yeah.
It's fine.
I don't know if you can
they
ever hear it on my end, but if you hear Brandon behind me gaming, you can hear his keyboard sometimes if he's like really into like the middle of a fight or something.
Don't get me wrong. I'm sorry about this, cat. Don't get me wrong. I love a good clack, right? Clacky keyboard, clacky mouse. But sometimes I gotta polish it up. Or we're just gonna become an ASMR channel. Apparently.
Radio has to have some, there's got to be some rules, right? There's got to be like some level of engagement. And I agree. I hate the mouse click on radio. And if I can eliminate it, I will. But you're right, actually, Amanda. It's a super hard thing unless you get an external mic and you maybe have a quick way. But then you'll realize I have this problem all the time. I have the mute on my mic and then the mute in the app. And I forget where I'm muted.
I only ever use one. That's my solution, but it's not 100%. Sometimes I still mess it up. But yeah. And what I'm smiling in particular, Amanda, because this is how it starts. You go like, I don't like that there's a mouse click. That's where it starts, and then eventually you're like, how can I run a compressor for my audio across not just radio, but I want to sound like this on Zoom. This is how you get to be insane like me. So be careful. That's all. But yeah, I think there's some cool things we could do. We could even just start with getting a pack of like easy to use like wired lav mics for the team, right? So that you don't have to charge them. You can literally just clip them to your clothing and reasonably close to you. And that would probably be a first good step to like easy to use, simple audio. I'm not 100% sure how well lav mics will reject mouse clicks though, because lav mics still are kind of far away from your mouth. Technically,
We'll call it the per mic.
But
For the
but it
cats.
might be a good first step, and it would be something where, like I said, you just plug it in when you want to do radio stuff, and then unplug it when you don't. So
Telling
I'm
you,
suddenly
though,
realizing that if I go down this audio rabbit hole, I can get rid of a thing that I complain about to everybody constantly, which is truck noises outside my window.
I also probably have like a stock of mics in my basement that I could probably just send people, because this is my last mic in a series of many.
I love
So-
that option.
Yeah, Jim's like, yeah, let's do
Yeah.
that one.
Okay. No. So anyway, I don't know if we got too far afield, but I've loved playing. Part of what I've loved playing with Radio 4, and I love that, Meredith, you did the tutorial. You got Jason hooked. You got Amanda doing professional quality, like scary stories. Like, it was impressive how everyone just basically busted out their audio hijack. And, you know, we sounded like a real team of DJs, which is, you know, kind of not what we are, but like we can kind of play DJs on TV, as they say, right? It was fun.
Yeah, it's super cool. I wanted to share what the schedule looks like, and Marin's not with us for the stream, but I have to give a big shout out to her because she did this. Like, she made the schedule. She gave it to us to sign up, and by the time that I even like looked at the schedule to sign up, like most of it was covered, which was super cool. And I really love that the team is just all about like media and like creation and stuff like that. Like, it's not just like web hosting. Like, we're able to like jump into that side of the web to be able to create things like that. Like, it was kind of bringing me back to my DS106 days too, back like recording the wire radio shows, and I think we were using Audacity to record it.
Totally.
And separately, we didn't even put like we recorded the whole show, edited it in Audacity, and then uploaded it for streaming outside of the radio. We didn't do like I can't remember if we did a live show or anything like that, but it's super cool. I personally like radio because it takes away a bit of the on-camera feel. Sometimes I'm getting used to being on camera now a bit more that we're doing live streams, but having that like barrier can be kind of nice too. So you're not having to worry about like, oh, how does my camera look? Like, is my background blurred? Like, you know what I mean? So that's super cool. But yeah, we all jumped in for these hours, and then we had some song requests from the other part of the team that couldn't be on the radio show for other meetings, scheduling, all that good stuff. So it was really fun to be able to like pull in those as requests. So, and adding on the StreamYard factor too. Yeah.
I agree. The StreamYard doing that with you and Marin was fun. And this was the first show. I've done vinyl casts where I played just a side of vinyl through. This is the first time I tried to play specific tracks on vinyl. Like, no, third track into the album.
It's tricky.
And it was tricky. It was tricky. I didn't do it very well. It was like, okay, let's try again. You know.
You know, if you had two turntables, you could cue things up.
That's next, I think.
Yeah.
And I needed to have my turntable right here.
Yes.
Because I kept on like going over here to where my turntable was, and you would lose my voice, and I'd be like playing here.
And you probably can't cue properly either. You need two turntables and a microphone at your desk. So.
Well, if you get a lav mic, you can clip it to your shirt.
There you go.
Get one of those radio lavs. Not wired.
Clip it to my dog and have my dog walk around the house. And we'll just
like a GoPro.
Should have dog radio. I don't know what that is, but that's an idea that we need to start working on.
Dog radio. That's awesome.
I just wanted to point out that one of the things I'm hearing here, and actually this kind of goes, Amanda, to something you said at the beginning, and Meredith, you just touched on again too, is like, it was cool to see so much of the team involved. And I feel like, you know, it took making a public thing, right? Like, we've had Reclaim Radio for, well, I think it's been around since way before I started at Reclaim. But I know there was an effort like about a year ago, like, hey, let's do internal streaming on Mondays once in a while as like a fun thing just for us. And, you know, Jim's done that a little bit. Chris has done that a little bit. I've done it a couple times too. I know, Meredith, you have. But like, you know, to make an event out of it, I think was cool to get everyone involved. And now, you know, you've got the setup. Once you do have the setup, it's way easier to, you know.
Well, that's the thing, is making an event meant that anyone who didn't have the setup needed to get the setup done and learn how to use it.
It's a deadline. And so I want to draw a line here between this. This is a dumb analogy maybe, but it's a little bit like teaching a course and having your students, you know, do their work in the open. Like, it changes the work a little bit in sometimes a really good way. So.
Well, yeah, I think also, you know, adding on to that, it really, all of us had the opportunity to make it our own too, you know, and I think that's you know, very relevant to what you just said, Taylor, about, you know, student learning and learn, because this was a learning experience for us, is what it was, you know. And we got to own it, and we got to play, and now I know how to use Audio Hijack, so I mean, I'm not complaining.
Yeah. I need to do more work with my Vinylcast setup. My record player is across the house, and I've done a stream before where I use my iPad to do most of it, and that kind of works, but then I can't cut in as easy. But I have some ideas, Jim. I know we've talked. I think we've actually done a stream around the idea of using NDI to shuttle video around the network. So I want to use my iPad as an NDI camera and audio source. So like point it at a record player across my house. Not my house isn't real big, but like it's not in the same room as me. And then bring that into my Mac, be able to listen and broadcast it, and then use my microphone at my Mac.
So let's define NDI for people, just so that they know
Yeah.
what we're talking about. What is an NDI?
It's a protocol. It's a network protocol that a lot of different tools can use. But basically, it's a way to send video from one device to another over the network. And so you can think of it a little bit like how this, how live streaming works, right? Like where Audio Hijack is sending audio to Azuracast, and that's over. I actually don't know what protocol that is, but it's using a protocol to do that.
There is a protocol.
Yeah, or
Icecast. I don't know what it is.
Icecast is the tool that's receiving it. I think Icecast is just receiving MP3 audio over like HTTP, but I do not know. Anyway,
Okay.
A better example I'm a little bit more familiar with in terms of how it works is OBS, right? So you use OBS to send video to Twitch or Oncast or Reclaim TV or whatever, and that's over a protocol called RTMP. And the specifics of it don't matter, but my point is it's a way to get video from one place to another. NDI is like that, except it's designed to be used in your local network, and it's super fast. So normally when you're doing a video stream between two things on the internet, it takes like time. Like there's time to send the video, and it has to be processed and all this stuff. So sometimes it's like 15 seconds of delay. NDI is milliseconds of delay, like literally so fast that in many cases you can't tell that there's a delay.
Is that what Aaron Parecki has been using, like with when they have those ATEM minis, and it's basically IP
ATEM devices?
IP?
Yeah, I don't know for sure. ATEM. So Blackmagic is such a big company. They may be using a different. There are other things that do what NDI does. They may even have their own thing. I bet Blackmagic has its own thing. But it's a similar idea.
Would you be going from device to device, or you're on the same API? I mean, IP address. So how do you define where the network picks up the signal and where it ends?
It's local. So because it's local, it can like broadcast and advertise itself. So basically, on my iPad, I would install an app. I already have it called NDI Capture.
Gotcha.
And you open that app, and it literally just looks like a camera app. Like it's just okay, cool. And then on my Mac, I think in OBS, because I don't think Audio Hijack has a way to do this directly, but OBS has ways where it can say, pull in an NDI source. And so when you click that button, it'll be like, cool, here's all the ones I know about right now. There's also another tool called NDI Tools that does this similarly. And so it's just looking on the local network. It's kind of like AirPlay a little bit if you've used an Apple TV and casted your phone to it.
Sure.
Where you're not putting IPs in, but the fact that you have an Apple TV on your network just kind of makes it happen. It's the specifics of it are all networky, and I only know half of it. So it's
instead of Elgato Capture Cam for the
yes. So I use this. I'm not using OBS right now, but I have used this in the past to demo. Like, look, I can use my phone as a webcam and I don't know, show you my cat who's not in the room right now, surprisingly. But there are all kinds of ways you can use that. But and I have tested this with doing a Vinylcast before, but I want to get in more a habit of it. because my record player has a nice USB output. So I can basically plug that in with like a single adapter right into my iPad and capture the audio, and then point the iPad's camera at the record player and maybe even do a video component to the Vinylcast too. But that would be maybe icing on the cake. But yeah, NDI is super cool. It's not an open protocol, but it's like a free to use protocol that lots of things support. And there are other things that do what NDI does in different ways. But this idea of local video broadcasting is, and technically I think NDI can work over the internet too, but is kind of cool. And I'm interested in kind of stretching the boundaries of the station, what I can do with it. So
NDI is not to be confused with an NDA, right?
yeah, not non-disclosure agreement, not the same. I don't even know what NDI stands for off the top of my head. But yeah,
No
we've got
disc.
links in the Discord chat. Both of these are great. Yeah, ndi.video is the main website, and there's New Tech is the company that makes it or develops it. So.
Beautiful. No, so that is definitely something to look at, because my Epoch Cam sucks. I can never get my webcam to work. So NDI might be, if I sign an NDA, I might use the NDI.
I'd like to point out on the newtech.com/applications page for NDI, they have a link to get it on iTunes, which is
that's the app I'm talking about. Oh, it's just called NDI Camera now. That's even better.
Yeah.
It used to be this like terrible name. It was like HD Capture HX, and now it's just called Camera, which is a good move.
It's just funny because it's normally like the App Store now. Like, get it on the App Store.
Oh, get it on iTunes. Yeah, that's really funny. Huh. Yeah, so like New Tech is one of those like AV companies that's been around for a long time. So NDI is kind of geared towards like, like industry professionals doing camera work or like AV solutions and stuff. But it's honestly really easy to use. What you need is to know like what app am I using on my phone, if that's where I want to get stuff from, and then how am I getting it to my computer. And my suggestion is either NDI Tools or OBS. But once you have those two figured out, like there's not much more to know. You open the two apps and they see each other and you click go, basically. So yeah, it's cool.
Awesome. I could go over a little bit of like how simple Audio Hijack is, if that works a little bit, or if we have other stuff to chat through. Let's do it.
You hijack this stream, Meredith. Do it.
Cool. Okay, so I literally, mine's as simple as I have two session lists, they call it. Shoot, I didn't share my screen right. Hold on. Okay, so when you double click on whichever session list you've got, let's see if it's not adding to my screen. There we go. It will expand a bit more. So I looped in Spotify for my first hour. So I kicked it off with the first hour, just streaming music as we got set up for work for the day, and then moved into StreamYard for a video radio show with Marin after Jim and Marin's Vinylcast, and then moved back to streaming music while we were in a team meeting all together. And I primarily use Spotify for that with the playlist. I like to throw on lo-fi music for radio streams because then I don't have to worry about like lyrics getting too crazy or anything like that. Just kind of good background music in general, because a lot of the music that I listen to tends to have some explicit content on it and is not the best for radio stream. It is, but yeah. So I found some spooky Halloween style playlists from a group called I'm gonna pull it up. Blurred Lo-Fi, and then pulled in from Lo-Fi Girl too. Lo-Fi Girl streams on YouTube, streams on has curated playlists on Spotify. But Blurred Lo-Fi was the first one that I've seen of this one, which was pretty cool. And they had some spooky tunes in that playlist, which was cool. But I just literally picked the application, and through blocks you can change applications. So then if you were like streaming from YouTube directly, you could pick Google Chrome, and then went from the output device as the speakers, so I could still hear that the music was playing, just in case like it paused for whatever reason, or you could hear it skipping. And then went to Reclaim Radio from there, so you could add more, kind of like how Taylor and Jim were adding theirs as well. So that's the simple setup for Audio Hijack.
One of the things that I think would be really cool is not. I mean, where do we go from here with Reclaim on the radio? I feel like this was, in my mind, a success, and we should plan these more often. There's obviously some overhead and work for everyone prepping, especially like, ones where it wasn't just like I just put a single album on, like I did. So that was not much prep for me. But like Pilot and Amanda, you did a whole roundup thing, and so that's a little bit more programming work, I guess. But
Amanda
yeah.
picked out the radio stories. Figured out what to do there. If we're going to do an ASMR radio day, then we have to like find things to read.
I'm not out of that one.
Taylor, what do you mean you don't want to do ASMR?
Come back to us, Taylor.
Taylor,
I think we should try to do these at least once. I still think it's been a while since I've worked at a school. I still think in semesters, at least once a semester.
Once a year.
I think, and I don't know if this is true, but I believe that we're going to have some sort of special coming up for the holidays that will include, which was so fun, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I wonder if we don't use radio as a way to celebrate some holidays.
Sure.
And then if it becomes more regular, great. And like, I like that we just randomly stream now, and we have that Slack integration so that people can say, hey, Amanda's on the radio.
That's a good point too.
You want to listen? Go there. But if we get, like, we know once every holiday, like 4th of July music, Easter music, like just have fun, whatever the holiday is. We could even make up a Reclaim Day or a radio day and just put one on the calendar and give people time and try and make it an event and celebrate. Like, I think is what really worked about how Marin set this up. Is it was a celebration of Reclaim, of a long month for Reclaim, and we all needed to blow off some steam and have a little bit of like, downtime, fun time, creative time. And I think once everything becomes a grind, we lose our edge. And so I think making it regular, like you're saying, Taylor, exactly. That's all I'm trying to say. I just take a long time to say it.
We had a good question that I want to cover before we run out of time. I guess we're doing pretty good on time, but someone asked what's the best way to set up Audio Hijack for a radio call-in show? And this is actually, I think, a great question, because it's not too hard, but there's more to consider than you might think. And there's a lot of different ways to do it. So I'm just going to really quickly put an Audio Hijack session together. That would be the way I would do it. I know Amanda and Pilot, you had to do this, so tell me where I'm going wrong, I guess. But if I've got a blank session here, and so first thing I'll need is the audio from the other person. And the way I would suggest doing this is use a video conferencing app. So hop on. We use Whereby a lot. You could use or Jitsi. You could use Zoom, whatever, but you're going to capture whatever application's audio from there. So I'm going to pull in an application thing. Let's say we were using Whereby. And
you can have multiple
in a web browser
applications. So if you wanted one from Whereby and one from Discord and one from, you could have
Yeah, but I mean, those people wouldn't be able to hear each other then. So,
No,
um,
this is about this is more just fun fact about audio hijack for people who want to
oh,
pipe
sure,
in
sure.
from
Yeah.
multiple apps at once.
So you want to come up with one place where the two or more people are going to be, basically. In our case, we'll think of it as whereby, but this would be the same for any web-based, like Google Meet would work the same way. The trick is you have to capture your browser's audio. And so you want to make sure that that's the only thing playing audio in that particular browser. So let's say I have that set up and I'm using Firefox. So I'll capture Firefox's audio. Then I also need to capture my own microphone. And that may sound counterintuitive, but it needs to be there because you're not hearing your own microphone from Whereby or whatever video conferencing app, right? Like that's not played back to you. So you do need to mix that in as well. So I'm going to grab an input device. My input device would be MixB in this case, but it'll be whatever your microphone shows up as. And then what you're going to want to do is set up an output device, but only for Firefox, because you still want to be able to hear the other people, basically. And then finally, you need to set up your stream. So we'll put a broadcast block in, and I would configure that for the radio. I'm not going to put all those details in, but that's something that you would grab from AzuraCast, those details.
Do you know why if you moved output device down, it would automatically connect to both Firefox and input device? Do you know why proximity is making that happen?
Proximity?
So you move it far enough away from the block and it just
that's just how it works. You can separate that out.
Okay.
If you want to, because in this case you wouldn't want that because you're going to hear yourself back to you 500 milliseconds later and it'll be a nightmare. You won't be able to talk.
This is more about from an audio hijack tech perspective. Is there a way to change the settings so you can draw those connections or lines and
actually
automatically
you can.
chosen?
So that's I don't have it set up in this one, but if you go to info and then automatic connections.
Taylor, hold up. I need you to do that again because we have a logo sitting on top of.
Okay. Info?
Yes.
Info, and then just uncheck automatic connections. So then what you have to do is manually draw the connections. You can do it this way. There's no real advantage. It's just slower. But you can, if you have a really complicated workflow of a lot of devices, this may be easier. And then you do that. And then you just hit stop editing.
Mm-hmm.
So.
Sounds good. Thank
you. Oh, wait, I wouldn't want it that way. Whoops.
I think Paul Bond asked this question, and early on when we were doing DS106 radio, one of the ways we brought people in was through Skype, and that was one way to do it. Was you had your microphone, like you're saying, and then the Firefox would just be Skype, and you had to kind of duplicate the audio. But I think the thing I never had figured out was this default system output. So you're basically monitoring what people are like. Explain the difference.
Well, if you don't have this here, depending on there are some exceptions, but if you don't have this here, it's going to capture Zoom's audio and you won't hear it anymore. So now you won't hear your guest, which is obviously no good. There are some exceptions to how that works. If you have, in particular, Jim, for your and I setups where you're using loopback, that isn't always going to be the case. But as a basic, if you're just using audio hijack, you don't have any. I have a hardware device that kind of does what loopback does, so it gets really complicated really quickly. But for most people who would just be using audio hijack, this is, I think, how you'd need to set it up in order so that you can hear your guests still, you're in the conversation, as well as it go to the radio.
So you have your microphone separate. You have the Zoom or Skype or wherever you're conferencing, whether it's Whereby, and that output device is basically for you to hear your guests.
Yes.
Okay. Yep. I got it.
Otherwise, you would have to hear them on the radio 15 seconds later, which would be no fun. And like I said, it's very possible that there are other ways to do it too. I'm trying to...
Because it's kind of the holy grail is to be able to talk with people, hear them in monitoring.
Yep.
And then when you're on the radio, play music and you can still talk while the music is happening. And that's the way we figured it out this time when I was doing the radio with Marin and Meredith. But I forget because I'm old. I forget as quickly as I do any of this stuff. And so it's good to have a theory behind it. If you
Yeah, and the trick there where you want to talk and have the participants listen to the music inside your video conferencing, that's where you need loopback. That's not going to be possible to do in just inside Audio Hijack. And the reason is, well, I shouldn't say that. Audio Hijack is always adding new stuff. But the reason is what you need is a virtual microphone device to be able to send music to Skype. And that's where loopback is a strength, basically. Pilot, it sounded like you had a question that I interrupted you in the middle of you asking.
Well, I was going to say I can share maybe my screen and show you, because mine is almost exactly what it was on Halloween. I haven't made any changes.
Mm-hmm.
And I used almost exactly the default. I made barely any changes to get it there. It's just also that there's people talking outside.
I love that we're all rocking Azuracast and Audio Hijack. It's amazing. Go, Pilot. Go.
Here we go. Let's get this shared correctly. All right. But yeah, so this is the application that I have. I use Chrome for music. And the way that it ended up getting set up, and this is the thing of, I said I left it all on defaults, which I mean, because I was like, I don't really know how this works. It's working, so we're not going to touch anything. So this is as much me talking you through it, and you can tell me when I get things wrong. But so I have, for example, Whereby or StreamYard or music coming from Chrome. So when I was on the call with Amanda, that was what was coming from. My mic, which means that I can be heard. And they both pipe into a recording device, and then they both pipe to the output device, which is what I can hear. And then they also pipe to the broadcast, which is not turned on right now.
Sure.
Is this the reason that I got myself echoing slightly?
Yes.
I wasn't hearing it. Okay.
Yep. Yeah. So you're hearing, it was immediately taking your microphone and sending it back to you as well. Now, the nice thing is Whereby was probably filtering that out so that it wasn't actually going to like loop, and you have headphones on.
Yeah.
So those two things together meant that like,
It wasn't
actually, no,
buffering to me.
Whereby wouldn't have anything to do with it. But because you had headphones on, you weren't going to get feedback at all.
Yes.
And it's possible that Audio Hijack has some smarts where it'll be like, I think there's feedback happening, and shut it down. But typically, the pro audio tools like Audio Hijack don't do that, because that kind of logic, like this is something that Zoom and StreamYard and Whereby can do, where they'll say, this person's not wearing headphones and I'm hearing their own audio come back to them. It'll shut that down and filter it, but that has a significant impact on the quality of your microphone. It's not something you want in scenarios where you want to be really picky about audio. In fact, StreamYard lets you turn that on and off. Like Whereby, Zoom, they'll all do that by default.
Also, for something like Audio Hijack, that's the sort of thing where I feel like if you're a designer, you don't want to make too many assumptions.
Yeah, because the whole thing is that this is a super customizable tool, right? Like that's the whole idea. And yes, you do have to learn about it, but you don't want this tool doing things without you asking it to, because that's probably more confusing in the whole scheme of things.
Mm-hmm. So I didn't look through any of these.
Yeah, there's a million things. You can ducking is a cool one. So if you've ever heard on the radio when a DJ talks and the music automatically lowers under them, you can set that up in Audio Hijack too, so that when you speak, it'll just automatically duck the music down a little bit so that you're heard, and that it's super cool.
Yeah, that's cool. The only like different thing that I did on my setup was I added the volume block because I wanted to try and do like a fade out with the radio, the suspense radio thing. I don't know, it wasn't super effective for me.
I think we need to get everyone Stream Decks so you can have knobs to turn your microphone down.
Look at the
And
D-click.
There
D
is-
click's not
Amanda.
the same kind of click.
Gosh, dang it.
But speech denoise would be the one I would use. That was in the list that I just noticed that.
Huh.
That may help you.
What filter did Jason use to change his voice?
You'd have to ask Jason.
Wonder.
There's a lot of different ways he could have used, even effects that are built into the system. There's a protocol called a tool called Audio Units on the Mac that can do all kinds of things across applications. But maybe he's using a built-in one. I'm not really sure.
He is using Audio Hijack, right?
Yes. Yep.
Yeah. Speech to noise.
And there's all kinds of ways. Like my interface has ones built into it, so I can press a little button under on the interface, which is also under my desk. That's how I'm muting things, and I can sound like an epic radio announcer for a little bit.
Oh boy.
It's very practical.
Raceway Park.
It's very practical. I'm a hoot in meetings.
Yeah, exactly.
You actually have some pretty good restraint on not using that too much in meetings.
I don't want to get fired, so yeah.
Taylor, your excessive abuse of the audio sound effects has left us no choice.
Hey everyone, welcome to the weekly EdTech meeting. Thanks for being here.
You haven't been using that on streams this whole time? What do you have it for?
It's a little speech jammery for me, so
That's
it's
fair.
hard for me to continue talking through it. So I have to be
It's like the audio equivalent of what was his name? David Letterman's like horror cam or scary cam. Like he would have that
Shaky
cam
cam?
that comes shaky cam would come over the top. It's like the effect of that same. If I knew the name of the camera, it would have been a lot better. But I don't. I forgot.
It's fine.
But Eric will know. I can guarantee you Eric will know, and he will say it in the chat. That's what I love about Eric. That's
Fine.
awesome.
Yeah, I would. We should have. We should have had. I'm really curious what Jason did exactly. Like what tools exactly he used to do his speech effects. But you can do that within Audio Hijack either. So that would be a distortion pedal, like a guitar pedal. So you could run your voice through that.
I'm noting the thing that is coming up is I can't. So I clicked on that and it opened a little window right here that gives you all of the places and settings that you can change stuff. You
Yeah.
can't see that because I only shared the one window.
Sure.
Yeah, but
yeah, there are those audio unit effects are used by pro audio applications, and Eric's completely right. There's two formats. There's audio units and VSTs. They're both just plugins for audio tools. The Mac has a bunch of them just kind of built in. So those are there from, I think, GarageBand or Logic Pro if you're like a pro audio producer. But Audio Hijack can use those, which is cool because it widely expands what you can do with this system.
So cool. Well, I do think that it was, I mean, personally for me, it was a joy to do the radio, but it was also even better to listen to everyone doing radio, many for the first time, and you would never know. Testament to the people and also to some of the tools that were trained by the people. Really super cool. And also appreciate people listening. I heard from a bunch of different people over the course of the last couple of days that, I heard that part of the show. Or I was like, really? You were listening? Like, I always assume no one's listening. That's like my basis for radio. But you never know who's going to listen and who you might connect with, and sometimes that's a good thing when you're doing that over the course of the day. You know, you're not simply alone. It's easy to be alone sometimes, and not that I hate being alone, but it's nice also to connect through this technology and remind ourselves. So, also for the chat, thank you, Eric and Stephen Downs, legend, for joining us and for essentially being awesome guests on today's stream. It was fun. It was a nice informative stream. I now have NDI on my desktop and my phone, and I'll be broadcasting some of my video game playing from my phone. So
cool.
Be careful.
Well, yeah, I don't remember. I hadn't had anyone logged into Zercast and looked at the listener counts that day. It wasn't
Yeah.
just us. There were people
No,
listening.
we had
Yeah.
like a max of like 17 or 18 at one point.
What?
Yeah.
Wow.
That was cool.
That is awesome. That's always strange to me, because I can't think why people would want to listen.
Don't worry, it dipped significantly once I started talking.
Yeah, right.
I don't believe you.
That's awesome. Anything else? Great radio team.
I'm looking at the log. Sorry. Between Sunday of that week and Wednesday, we had 52 unique listeners on the station. Based on, I think that's
Wow.
based off IP address.
Are you kidding?
No, I'm not kidding. 52 people within that time frame listened for some amount of time. So that could be 1 second. But yeah.
I mean, Downs is saying he listened. Tim said he listened. Justin, someone I know, said they listened. Antonello listened. Like, I can rattle off 5 or 6 people who probably you all wouldn't assume listened. I wouldn't assume Steven was listening. Like, that's pretty cool.
Yeah,
We should do it more.
Crazy.
it was cool. And I think
And now that Meredith's got the headphones, we're ready.
No more earbuds. Yeah,
That's
I sent the list, the link to like my family and some couple friends that I'd like mentioned I was doing the day of, and they were like, "That's so cool! Like I could hear you and Jim and Marin talking the whole time," and I was like, "Yeah, I think it's really cool just to see like across the globe like who listens in. Like Marin was saying, Anne Marie Scott like tweeted about listening too, so it was pretty cool."
The thing is with the diaspora of social media, and like Twitter was always a really good place to, at least for some of the work I've done, to bring everyone together. And I feel like Mastodon's, the more we use it, I feel like it's becoming that. And Reclaim Radio has its own channel on our Reclaim Rocks Mastodon server, and it can be a place where one of the channels where we can let people know we're on the air, and we do it internally with our Slack. But I think Mastodon I don't know, like I could care less about Threads and all the other bigger social media, Big Blue, whatever that thing is called. Like I'm in it for Mastodon and just kind of like that focused, smaller community, because that's really who you want to connect with. And I think the webhook you created, Taylor, to pull it right into our Slack, but that same webhook can work with Mastodon or whatever it already kind of is beautiful. I love
Yeah, and that's just using Zapier, which we use for a lot of different things. And Zapier is not the cheapest thing if you're an individual, but for a company like us, I think it's easily worth the price we're paying. But Zeracast has really nice API and webhook support built right into it. So you can, it kind of walks you through it. And then the reason I have to run it through Zapier at all is just to like format it in the way I want, because I'm picky. I need to have my little now playing emoji and stuff. Like it's just,
which is nice though.
But
it looks
yeah,
good.
we're I guess for perspective, for sort of background, we are pulling in every song meta as the songs change, as someone broadcasts. Those are pulled in as notifications into a Slack channel, which is super cool for us internally because people can just hop on and be playing stuff like Jason was, I think, yesterday, which is super cool, or maybe it's 2 days ago. But yeah, nope, it would have. So that was not hard to set up, and it was super cool. Yeah.
Super cool. I think the other thing, I know we have to go, we're going over time, and I know everybody has a life besides this radio stream. But the other thing I was thinking about, and I'm pulling on Amanda because I don't remember now what I was going to say. Amanda, I feel for you right now because now I don't know what I was going to say.
Current brain.
Damn it. Anyway, it's a good way to end it, right? Non-professional stream.
Well, see everybody next time.
Bye.
Thanks for watching, y'all.